Before the flood, before the ark, before Noah, there was a man who walked with God in an age when the world forgot him. His name was Enoch. In a generation filled with violence, corruption, and idols, Enoch chose a different path, not one of kings or warriors, but of intimacy with heaven. He did not build kingdoms, he built faith. He did not die, he disappeared because God took him. Who was this mysterious prophet? Why did God take him alive? This is the story of the man who walked into heaven.
Before the floodwaters, before Noah, before even the ark was imagined, there lived a man named Jared. Jared, the sixth from Adam, was a quiet man, a watcher of the skies, a listener to the stories of the elders, stories passed down from Adam himself. He walked with God in a garden with no thorns. He heard the voice of the Creator like wind in the trees. Jared never forgot those words. He treasured them, held them close in a world that was rapidly changing. The earth was no longer young, no longer innocent. Adam, ancient, grieved, yet still alive, sat beneath trees he did not plant and watched generations rise who barely remembered the garden. His sons' sons built cities. They filled the land with cattle, tools, towers, and idols. Idols, stones carved with human hands, silent statues they called gods. And to these lifeless shapes they bowed. The sons of Cain had grown mighty. Their city sparkled with metal, music, and might. But their hearts were far from God. There were rumors in those days of men who mingled with darkness, of giants born from strange unions, of violence that bled into the soil. Jared watched. He prayed, and when he was 162 years old, a child was born to him, a son. His wife wrapped him in linen. The baby's eyes were wide, as if already watching the stars. Jared held him and whispered, "Your name shall be Enoch," dedicated. From the very beginning, Enoch was different. As other boys fought and mocked, he listened. As they built altars to false gods, he sat near the elders and asked, "Is it true that man once walked with God?" Jared would nod, his voice quiet, his eyes distant. "Yes, my son, Adam himself told me." He heard his voice in the garden until sin made him silent. Enoch would gaze at the stars, at the wind in the trees, and wonder, could it be again? Could a man walk with God now? As he grew, the world around him darkened. Blood was spilled in sport. Neighbors offered incense to wood and fire. Laughter came from temples of idols, while sorrow filled the tents of the faithful. Enoch did not shout. He did not curse the wicked. He walked among them, but he did not become one of them. He would rise before the sun, kneel among the olive trees, and whisper into the silence, "I don't know if you still listen, But if you do, teach me to walk with you again. To teach me to walk with you again.
The world had gone silent. Not silent in noise. The markets still roared. The idle drums still pounded. The laughter of the wicked still echoed through the stone alleys. But in the spirit, there was silence. Heaven was quiet. The voice that once walked with man in the cool of the day was now hidden behind cloud and shadow. And yet, there was one who still listened. Enoch, now a man of conviction, would rise early, before the sun painted the hills, and walk into the olive groves beyond the city. His feet pressed dew-covered soil. His eyes searched the skies. His lips whispered prayers no one else dared to speak aloud. O God of my fathers, God of Adam and Seth, if you still walk the earth, I want to walk with you. Day after day he returned, not for signs, not for miracles, but for presence. While others chanted before idols of stone, Enoch waited on a voice he had never heard, yet somehow knew. One morning, the air shifted. The wind moved through the trees like breath. The sky shimmered with warmth, not of the sun. Enoch knelt on the ground, and in the stillness, something stirred. A whisper, not to his ears, but to his soul. Walk with me. He stood, his heart pounding. Tears welled in his eyes. There was no thunder, no earthquake, no flash of fire, just the whisper and peace. That day Enoch did not return home the same. While others traded goods, he pondered eternity. While others sacrificed to gods they made, he surrendered his heart to the God who made him. It was the beginning, not of religion, but of a relationship. In a world that forgot its maker, one man began to remember. And heaven remembered him. Enoch's life began to change, but not in ways the world understood. He did not build towers. He did not craft swords. He did not chase riches or wives or war. He built altars of silence. He carved out time for God. And the more he sought, the more he heard. And then, one morning, the voice returned. Speak what I show you. And so Enoch began to speak, first in whispers, to his family. His father Jared listened. Others scoffed. God speaks, they laughed. He left long ago. But Enoch did not stop. He warned. He pleaded. He preached righteousness in a world drowning in pride. They called him mad, a dreamer, a fool. But some listened. A few hearts stirred. A few eyes wept. The wind of heaven was moving again. Enoch's days were not easy. To walk with God was to walk against the world. He turned from idle feasts. He refused unjust prophets. He broke friendship with the mockers. He fasted when others feasted. In the streets, people whispered, "That's the one who speaks with the invisible." But at night, he walked alone beneath the stars. And sometimes, he was not alone, for the voice would come again. And what Enoch heard was no longer only for himself. He began to receive visions, glimpses of future judgment, of coming wrath, of angels and fire, of a flood that would cover the earth. He saw a great separation between those who knew God and those who mocked him. And with trembling voice, he spoke it.
He warned them, "Behold, the Lord comes with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to execute judgment on all." The people scoffed louder now, but heaven had found its voice in a man who dared to listen, and all of creation began to take notice.
Enoch walked with God, not once, not twice, not just in moments of silence or in the shadow of groves, but daily. Every sunrise brought deeper surrender. Every nightfall ended in whispered prayers, not from ritual, but from love. It was no longer just obedience, it was friendship. And the world could see it. They didn't have words for it, but they could sense something in him. When Enoch entered a room, it shifted. Some people felt peace, others felt panic. The light in him began to stir the darkness around him. He no longer needed to raise his voice. His very presence convicted. And so the world hated him, not because he stole or harmed or lied, but because he walked with someone they had forgotten. Idol priests mocked him, traitors cursed him, even some family members kept their distance. Yet Enoch remained gentle, steady, and still he preached, not with thunder, but with tears. One night, while praying under a starless sky, a wind moved through the trees, and the voice came again. "Draw nearer. I will show you mysteries not given to men." And so began the visions. Enoch was taken in spirit to heights no human had seen. He saw the throne of God. He saw angelic hosts, legions of radiant beings who bowed day and night. He was shown the watchers, angels who had fallen. He was shown chains of judgment and books of remembrance and scrolls sealed with fire. Enoch fell on his face. "Who am I," he wept, "that you would show me these things?" And the voice said, "Because you have walked with me, I will walk with you into what no man has seen." After this, Enoch changed again. He spoke little. His eyes carried the weight of other worlds. His words burned with heavenly fire. Some feared he was no longer just a man. Some said angels walked with him. Others avoided him altogether. But heaven watched and smiled, for the world was no longer worthy of him.
The earth had grown darker. Violence had become common. Men called evil good and good madness. Idols ruled the cities. Blood stained the fields. But in a quiet place, one man still walked with God, and God gave him a message. One night, while Enoch knelt beneath the olive trees, the wind turned still, the air grew electric, the stars faded from view, and the veil lifted. Enoch was taken. His spirit was drawn into realms above, mountains of fire, rivers of light, thrones surrounded by angels with voices like thunder, and above all, the Ancient of Days. Enoch could not speak. He could not move. But the voice came, gentle yet unshakable. "I will show you the end, son of Jared." And Enoch saw it. He saw the flood, roaring through cities of stone,
tearing down idols, sweeping away every proud tower. He saw the earth groaning in sorrow, and heaven mourning the violence of men. He saw generations unborn, walking the same paths of pride, rejecting the same voice of mercy. And he saw, far in the distance, one man, clothed in light, standing with wounds in his hands. And the voice said, "From your seed I will raise up salvation, but the world must be warned. Speak what you've seen." When Enoch returned to his body, he trembled. Days passed before he spoke. But when he did, it shook the land. He no longer spoke as a man. He spoke like one from another world. His voice carried weight, his eyes burned with vision, and his warning pierced the ears of a few, while the rest laughed. "The Lord will come," Enoch cried, "with 10,000 of his holy ones, to execute judgment on the ungodly, on all their proud words and deeds." The people mocked him, calling him a mad prophet, a sky watcher, a dreamer of doom. But some listened, a few repented, some left their idols and began to walk with God too. For God had not forgotten man, he had sent a voice, and that voice was Enoch, a man who spoke not only to his generation, but to everyone to come.
There are moments in history when a man's voice echoes farther than his breath, when it shakes not only cities, but unseen realms. Enoch's voice had reached that point. The words he spoke were not merely warnings to mankind. They were a sentence to the unseen. For in his visions, he had seen not just the flood, but the watchers, angels once glorious, who had descended to earth in rebellion, who defiled mankind and mingled with flesh, who taught sorcery, war, vanity, and violence. They had become legends to men, worshipped as gods. But Enoch knew the truth, and now so did they. For his voice, his message, had reached the mountains where they hid, and the watchers trembled. They had never feared men. Kings bowed to them, priests served them, but this man walked with the one they had forsaken. One night, as Enoch prayed near the cliffs, a great shadow fell across the ground, a presence massive and cold. Winds stopped, birds fled. Enoch looked up, and there stood Samiah, leader of the watchers, a towering figure, cloaked in gray fire, with eyes like smoldering coal. But he did not threaten. He bowed. "Man of God," he said, "you walk with him, and we are judged already." Enoch stood still, not in pride, but in burden. "You chose chains when you could have chosen light," and the watcher vanished into the dark. That week, messengers came, not from kings, but from the fallen angels. They begged him to intercede, to plead with the Most High for mercy. Enoch fasted for 7 days, and in a dream he was shown, "Judgment is set. Their fate is sealed. You will write what you have seen, so the sons of men may fear and understand." And so Enoch wrote. Visions of angels in chains, secrets of the heavens, names of holy ones, calendars of time, the order of creation, and the end of all things. What he wrote would become sacred scrolls, hidden for generations, but meant for the end. Even the angels watched, for the man who walked with God now wrote with him.
The scrolls were simple, made of bark and ink, written by candlelight, but their words carried fire. They burned with revelation, not of man, but of heaven. Enoch wrote what he had seen, the fall of angels, the mystery of creation, the righteous paths of stars, the calendar of appointed days, and a coming judgment too vast for words. He wrote in symbols. He wrote in tears. He wrote as one carrying a burden not his own. And the scrolls began to spread. Carried by faithful hands, they passed from village to village, mountain to valley, quietly, boldly. Some who read them fell on their faces, others wept for hours. A few rose, changed. For the first time in generations, men and women began to turn back to the one they had forgotten, not by sword, not by temple, but by the words of one man who walked with God. And they began to gather. Shepherds, hunters, midwives, young men, widows, people with hearts pierced by truth. They came quietly, leaving idols, burning talismans, walking away from wealth and wickedness. And Enoch welcomed them, not as a prophet on a throne, but as a servant. He taught them, prayed with them, broke bread under trees, and led them to walk with God in the stillness. They called themselves the children of light. They wore no badges, they sought no praise, but their eyes shone, their words held weight. And the world began to notice. Priests grew nervous, idol-makers lost business, lords whispered in fear. "He's raising an army," they said. But it wasn't an army. It was a family, knit together by the Spirit of God. And Enoch continued to write, his scrolls now filled with new visions of a Redeemer who would suffer, of a final fire, of a kingdom without end. And as the sun set one evening, he looked over the gathering of those who believed and whispered, "This is not my doing. This is his." And the stars burned brighter that night.
Enoch had seen many things: floods, angels, fire, the fall of giants, the rising of stars. But one night, heaven gave him a vision unlike any other. It came suddenly, not in wind nor thunder, but in light. A warmth surrounded him, not fierce, not consuming, but welcoming. He stood again in the heavenly places, but this time there was no fear, only awe. And there, in the midst of eternity, stood one like a son of man, clothed in white, with eyes like flame and a crown of many thorns, yet a face of peace. Enoch fell to his knees. "Who is this, O Lord?" he asked. And the voice answered, "This is the one who will come. He will walk the earth as a man, yet carry the burden of heaven. He will be rejected, pierced, and laid in the dust, but he will rise." Enoch trembled, for this was no angel, no king of earth. This was the promise: a lamb led to slaughter, yet a lion in glory; a humble teacher, yet the judge of all. Enoch saw him lifted high on a wooden stake, mocked, bloodied, surrounded by darkness. And then he saw the grave open and light burst forth like the dawn. Multitudes bowed before him, tongues from every nation, songs no language could capture. And Enoch wept. "Lord," he whispered, how can I speak of one so holy?" And the voice said, "You will not see him in your days, but you will write of him for generations yet unborn. For what is written will remain, and when the time comes, they will understand." Enoch returned to earth changed again, for now his scrolls carried not only judgment, but hope, not only wrath, but redemption, and in every line he wrote, a secret song echoed, "He is coming, he is coming, he is coming."
The days passed like whispers. Time slowed in the presence of a man who no longer belonged to the earth. Enoch walked among the people, but his eyes saw beyond them. He spoke little now, not from pride or secrecy, but from awe. The visions had become too great, the fire too close. Heaven was drawing near. Those around him began to notice it, the way the winds bent around him, the way birds paused mid-flight as he passed, the way the sky seemed to shimmer at dusk. Children would sit by his feet in silence. The old would weep just looking into his face. "He carries something," they said, "something not of this world." And indeed, he did. For Enoch had not only walked with God, he had become a messenger of things too deep for words. Scroll after scroll had been hidden away, buried in stone jars, sealed for a time not yet come. But now his work was done. On a morning filled with golden mist, Enoch stood upon a high ridge. Behind him, the children of light watched in stillness. Not a word spoken, not a foot moved. And Enoch turned, smiled softly, and said only this, "I have seen the end, and it is full of mercy." Then he lifted his face to the sky, and the wind gathered like breath. Light cracked through the clouds, descending in rays that danced upon his shoulders, and suddenly he was gone. No body, no tomb, no sound, only the hush of heaven. The people fell on their faces and wept, for God had taken Enoch, not in death, but in glory. And from that day, his story lived not in stones or scrolls, but in hearts. A man who walked so closely with God that he walked straight into heaven. They searched the mountain for days. They climbed every rock, looked under every tree, called his name into the wind. But Enoch was gone, not buried, not broken, not burned, just taken. His cloak lay gently folded on the stone, but his footprints stopped as if heaven itself had erased the trail. And in that silence the people knew God had taken him. The scrolls remained, hidden away in jars of clay, waiting for a generation yet unborn. And the children of light scattered, not in fear, but with fire in their bones. For they had walked with a man who walked with God, and now they would walk too. Word of Enoch spread across nations, in whispers, in legends, in holy awe. And in time the earth changed, kingdoms rose, temples were built, prophets came and went, but Enoch's name remained. In the scrolls of Noah he was remembered. In the mouth of Jude he was quoted. In the book of Hebrews he was honored. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life, so that he did not experience death. He was commended as one who pleased God. No grave, no bones, only a testimony. He pleased God. There are men who build cities. There are men who write laws. But Enoch walked. That was his legacy. Not what he ruled, not what he owned, but who he walked with. And so it is written that one day, in the end of all things, the two witnesses will walk the earth again. Two who never tasted death. Two who were taken. And many believe one of them is Enoch. He walked into heaven, but one day he may walk again upon the earth to speak for God in a world gone blind. Until then, his footsteps echo in every believer who dares to walk with God, even when no one else does, and the stars still remember him. For heaven does not forget the man who walked into its gates alive.